because I've definitely cried and stuff in front of them where I'm like, you know what, I'm in
Hmm.
emotion right now and this is how it is. And I'm going to be with that for a second and then my body's going to reset itself. Like they'll follow, which is
Yeah.
really cool. It does give them, an opportunity to go, hey, there's many ways that I could kind of look at this and work with it. And then
Hmm.
it's being present with the emotion. Hey, hi Anya, how you doing today?
Hey. Not doing 100% today. You'll have to bear with me. And I think you as well. We're both a bit purging, aren't we? We're both purging and detoxing. And definitely, I look like a bit of a chipmunk with my eyes. Got some flu going on. I've got tooth abscess I've had to have removed. I've got all sorts of aching and pains and everything everywhere. So I'm definitely not feeling 100% at the moment. However, I do still think it's nice to show up, and I enjoy our conversations because we can, go into the worlds, and it gives me a chance to reflect and think about like all the things that are going on and talk about them. So yeah, how are you doing?
Definitely not 100%, but then I question myself because I'm like, what the fuck is 100%? I don't know right now.
No, I get that. I get that. I guess for me, it's like, especially with the kids, I notice like when I'm physically depleted,
Yeah.
and that's definitely a thing right now. Like energetically, even mentally, sometimes I can still show up a bit more physically, even when I'm mentally drained. But right now, like it's clear that I'm feeling both mentally and physically, hugely physically drained and needing to just sleep and rest and
Eh,
recharge and have like good food, just really look after my own body a little bit and find ways to do that, with being a mum to two under two, you find creative ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been just it's mine's all physical, very, very
Yeah.
exhausted. Lots of purging cycles moving their way through and just allowing and not really in the space to do a whole lot, but I like coming on here and being like, I'm not 100%. I've been tired as heck, having to be in
Hmm.
bed a lot.
Hmm.
And also moving this with you too. So that's what I like about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always think it's funny how we do speak in between, like we have the odd chat, but my technological situation means that there's not much like a flow for much conversation right now. And so when we show up, even though it's just like once a week, we always seem to be in quite synchronicity of each other, and it always makes me laugh.
Like,
Like whether it was like matching each other's energy, whether like again that 100% concept for me, it's like when the music's on and I'm feeling good and I'm energized and I'm feeling active and aligned and powerful and connected. Like that to me is like more of a reflection of what you would say 100% is. And
yeah.
I love how when we always get on the call, we're always at a similar place. Like we're either at really good energies or we're both like, no, we're not feeling it right now. So
What are
it's
we gonna
nice
do
to feel,
today?
yeah. It's nice to feel that synchronicity. I mean, it's not necessarily every single time, but it is nice when you work. It helps you see the collective energy and how the collective energy is affecting us all. And I know for me personally, it helps me think, oh, at least this is not just me that's going through this. At least there's so many other people that are navigating this in their own way too.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So what we're saying to all of you guys is it's totally okay to show up as yourself and be tired or however you are and also be online too and be tired. I know there's
Yeah.
like, the old me, like a long, long time ago would have been like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to like pump myself with so much coffee. I'm gonna have to like where I'm just so I look like I'm doing all right on here. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's not me anymore for sure. It's like every
No.
show up. So
That's the beauty of working on Zoom. Like you don't need to be so polished and perfect. I definitely am not called to be doing the whole glitz and glamour. And I was actually thinking about that concept a little while ago because, I mean, I think as an early teenager, I definitely experienced like this need to fit in and like wanting to not stand out. I think my name and my energy just made me do that anyways. But I was looking for a way to kind of fit in and blend in behind the scenes a little bit. And I guess I explored like makeup and fashion clothes and things that were like trending at the time. Whereas then I got to like 15, 16 and onwards. And I kind of just was like, nah. Like I found my own rhythm and my own voice. And I didn't really feel drawn to much like makeup and, girly stuff. I don't really do my nails or my eyebrows or my eyelashes, or like I don't really do much maintenance on myself, which I quite enjoy. But it got into like my early 20s, and I guess part of it was almost a rebellion to the paradigm of what it meant to be a woman and what that was like forced upon us in some ways. And I guess my rebellion came from not feeling like the society was actually in any way supporting women and embracing the role of a woman, but yet then expecting her to look and be a certain way. And so I guess I was like really repulsing that for a long time. And I was majoring my like hippie era, as I would call it, like, no shaving legs and all of the protesting for like, well, I don't have to conform to the beauty standards. And that was really authentic to me. But I guess, and then as time came on, I felt this natural shift. And my ego was questioning it. Like, I actually want to dress up sometimes. I actually want to look nice for me and not do it for a societal standard or to conform. Like, I genuinely just feel like going out that day when we're going out and maybe doing my hair and my makeup and putting a nice dress on and not feeling a repulsion towards that. And I guess I felt a natural shift in like the way I show myself, and that not being narrated by what I should be doing rather than what I wanted to do. And that went like both ways. I was really in the mainstream of beauty standards, and then I was really out of it and against it. And I guess I've now found a bit of a happy medium to it, to where when I feel called to do it, when it's calling me, then I will engage in it, but not for any other reason other than my own choice of joy, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
No,
thought I'd mention it.
I know. I super, super appreciate it. I'd have to say, coming off of, well, I did 22 years of ballet, so I was a ballerina.
Wow.
And that definitely, I still had my both. I would have my girly or my tutu on, and I would still have like my hat on, my cap, my boots. Like, so it was always one of those where I didn't veer in either which way, though I did shift into the feminine pretty strongly for a period of time, and then was like, that's really not entirely me either. I want to represent all aspects of me in here, and then mostly it turned into like, this is my little kid self, and that's how I want it to be. Very colorful, very out there. Um,
Yeah.
and I want to dress up when I want to dress up, and I'll wear makeup when I want to. Otherwise, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love that kind of authenticity in that. And I do think that's like where we're shifting as a collective, because obviously I see it. My sister's only 12 and she's definitely navigating that societal school pressure of trying to fit in and trying to be a certain version of her. And I see myself in there so much, and I see so many young girls. And I guess to shift into whatever you want to call it, a newer version of Earth and higher frequency,
Sure.
it is important to question what is holding us back in feelings of lack and feeling of not enough and not loving ourselves. And I guess, yeah, that was a big part of it for me. The beauty standards, the weight, and like looking a certain size and being a certain size, that was a huge thing in my teenage years. And, the extreme dieting and
Yep.
genuinely like minor eating disorders, I would call it now as an adult looking back. I was like, yeah, that's really not good. And obsession with apps and calorie counting and just, such a wild ride. And then, I was on contraception on the implant, and I didn't know that one of the biggest side effects from that was weight gain. And I gained like 3 stone, and I just felt huge. And I couldn't lose the weight because on the implant, your body thinks it's pregnant. So it like stores fat for this non-existent baby that doesn't exist. And it's such a damaging process to your body, in my opinion, because it's so contradictory. Like, I don't think it's healthy for your body to think it's pregnant for that long so it doesn't get pregnant, because it's like a 3-year time span, that's like quite a long time. And yeah, it definitely affects your periods and everything like that. And my brain on that implant was just insane. Like, I already had minor mental health as a teenager, so experiencing that was just, it's not good. And the willingness and the ease that was just given to me, I think I was like 14, and it was just like, oh yeah, this is available, try this. And it was like, I didn't realize that you're actually almost experimented on, in a sense, by these things that were new and they were untested, really, and we were the ones that kind of took the consequences of them new things. And I'm not saying having contraception isn't a good option. Of course it is. But I guess being more informed and educated is a huge part of it, and being informed on the side effects and weight gain was specifically a big thing for me. And again, this whole ideology for young girls is such a damaging thing that they experience, you know. And I'm sure there's so many other young girls that have experienced this or are experiencing this. And I just think it's important to just do some research and think about a solution that can support everyone in the best way, and you know, kind of help encouraging young girls to be their most authentic self that also allows them to fit into the societal world in the best way possible. Because let's face it, it's great advice to be like, oh, just be your true self all the time. And, you know, what a wonderful world that would be if we could do that. But
Right.
if a lot of kids do that at school, they are usually bullied. You know, I experienced that and it was not nice. And I think that's why you end up then conforming to meet other people's standards, because you don't want to be a target of attack. And yeah, I think it's a fine line to dance between encouraging children to be their truest authentic self, but also knowing how to fit in if they desire to, because it is a real thing in this 3D world, you know, and it is a complex thing that they've got to navigate. And I know, looking at my little teenage sister, I look at her and obviously I'm always encouraging her to be confident in herself, but a part of me does help her fit in a little bit, because I think that's what she's looking for right now, as validation, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, I see it too. And I was that. I had the eating disorder. Of course, the
Mm-hmm.
ballerina thing did. That was a whole
Yeah, I
disaster.
bet in that world.
Really trying to fit into that situation. But I know for myself, because I was very authentic when I was just really out there, super loud, and obviously that wasn't. It was super frowned upon at school. All the things. And so
Mm-hmm.
I see this. I see this with the girls too. I see this with my partner's kids too, when they're trying to fit in and with their friends and things like that. And it's kind of working with, well, how can you best represent yourself, find a connection, and also work with the steps of it if that is not an acceptance, you know? So I
Right.
feel like it's an everyday thing. I'm like, well, how could we maybe support in this way? I don't know. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how
Mm-hmm.
could we teach them to really stand up for themselves and wear something that they really, really, really love, and also interact with people and also say, hey, this is me, you know. It's just it's an interesting dance. It's not one that I have all the way either. I'm just observing it.
Right, right. And it is a weird thing. And I always think to myself, just be the version of you that you would have, not necessarily just me, but that I would have liked to have seen when I was younger. So when I was younger, like you say, I was a very strong woman. I was a very strong little kid. You know, I knew my own mind. I questioned everything. I was a mouthy little thing. You know, I'd tell you what I thought of
Yep.
it. I'd question, I'd be like, asking all the questions. And I guess now I so encourage that in like my sister and the other young girls I'm with. And I guess I want them to look at me and see me, whether they want to be like me, that's not the point. It's seeing me do what I love and and, you know, like giving birth in the way I did. My sister knew all about that, and she watched the way I went about that journey, and there's no secrets and there's no hiding it. And whatever questions she had, we talk about it. And it's a nice thing to watch them have alternative options. Like, we never
Sure.
got shown them sorts of options, you know, when we were younger. And so that's the kind of person I aspire to be, and someone that does speak my truth, and someone that's a safe person to hear their emotions
Sure.
and to like be there for them emotions. And I've noticed that doesn't always get me liked. That doesn't always get me to be the sister that she wants to do
Yep.
TikTok dances with and do makeup tutorials with, because I'm usually the one that's really bad for your skin and that's really not good for you. And she, you know, she's like, oh, shall we do face masks? And she's like, I know you'll make your own because you don't put the chemicals on your skin. And so, you know,
No.
I find it difficult to do them bonding little things and to do them human materialistic things when I know that's what she's desiring, to bond, but I'm not necessarily
Right.
in that place, you know, to use them chemicals to, you know, get my nails done or them thing. I just guess that's not necessarily my little thing, but I'm trying to meet her in the middle, and I'm
Sure.
trying to find a way, like you say, to navigate that dance with, I want to be a part of her life and I want to have them bonding experiences, but I also want her to see me honoring my truth and what works for me as well.
Totally.
And I know that when she does go through her own little detoxing journey later on, that she will come to me for the answers and the questions and the things, because I've always shown her an alternative option, you know. And I think just even showing them an alternative option is a good thing.
Totally. Yeah, I found honestly just being as truthful and authentic and as much me as possible has been the best opportunity for them because they do watch that. They do their nervous systems also watch that as well. And if I'm in my calm self or even if I'm in I mean, because I've definitely cried and stuff in front of them where I'm like, you know what, I'm in
Hmm.
emotion right now and this is how it is. And I'm going to be with that for a second and then my body's going to reset itself. Like they'll follow which is
Yeah.
really cool. It does give them, an opportunity to go, hey, there's many ways that I could kind of look at this and work with it. And then
Hmm.
it's being present with the emotions and the wants that they want and all of it. It'll be like, cool, I'm just gonna let that fly. Sometimes I'll say something, sometimes I won't, sometimes I'll just wait till they come up to me. And
Yeah, and it's difficult. It's really hard to find the right version. None of us are perfect, and we can't show up as perfect either.
right.
Like, she's seen me have a bit of an argument, not obviously not big, but a little bit of an argument with my fella, and then I've explained to her afterwards. Well, this was why I felt the need to enforce my boundaries and communicate up for myself.
Yep.
And this is why. And I wanted to see that. I wanted to know how to be in a. I'm not saying I wanted to see that, but I'm not bothered by her seeing real life because then she also saw later on how we navigated that conflict resolve and how we communicated
Right.
about it. And
Right.
that's healthy because that's showing her in a relationship and in partnerships and how you address conflict, how you stick up for yourself, how you don't allow what you perceive as disrespect, and then how you resolve that later on with
Right.
time and space and communication and listening to each other. And she, little things like that. And sometimes I have to check her on her attitude a little bit. And, I had to kind of tell her off on the weekend trip we had. And I felt really bad about it because I don't like raising my voice and I don't like, in any way, like you say, not shifting from that. I want to always be that grounded emotional safety. But when you're navigating that disrespect and attitude, when they're testing the new boundaries as little teenagers, I remember being that.
Yep.
And I, don't want to be in any way like, oh, you can't do that. But I also needed to know there's a line and you do
Yep.
not cross the
Totally.
lines.
Totally.
And, and I had to kind of enforce a line this weekend and we navigated it well. But then what was so important to me afterwards, I did my little breathing, went away, we were all with family and then came back to her and I communicated why I felt that way and why that happened and why I communicated in the way I did and why I'm also checking that energy for the future outcome. Like I don't want them things to be a part of normalized personality. And so
Totally.
it's important to, if you're gonna you do the don't do this, then you also have to follow through with the explanation, I think. And when in a calm space, when you're both not in that heated energy, you're
Right.
both calm
Right.
again, you return to the place and you return to that safe place and you explain the whole processes of but and you hear them as well because that's important too. And then I think that helps them understand that that's not something to fear. That's not, oh, I can't do that again because I'll be shouted at, because that's not the result. You're not wanting to fear-based condition.
Totally.
It's, oh, yeah, I crossed that boundary and this is what I did to cross that boundary and that's the consequence. And I understand now how that works in my brain. And again, I'm not perfect at that. And
Totally.
I'm not a parent of a teenager. I'm just a big sister and I'm still navigating that journey. And, it's interesting. She's always been my little trial run as a parent. And I do appreciate the reflections her soul brought to me because she teaches me so much and has taught me so much before I had my children and before my children were that age, which makes me just very grateful for have navigated that.
Totally. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would have to say from my perspective, and also like I'm not a parent here. I'm just here.
Yeah, but it's still
And,
a role. It's still a
it's
valid
still a good
role.
role, and it's still
Hmm.
something that I actually really, really love to do. And it is actually I'm like there's lots of lines where I'm like that's going to be the boundary, and I'm gonna when you're done being upset about it, we come back, and I feel like the repair is the biggest piece to that. Like,
Hmm.
hey, like if you're not in trouble. This is a line for me because of why. And sometimes I don't say why. I'm like that's my boundary. That's just a no. I wouldn't like that. And to have them come in and practice that with each other. We had them role play it out with this is the
That's so
scenario that
cool.
happens.
I
What do
love that.
what do we do next time then? Instead of the shame, which, we've all been in from our parents and other roles, where it's like, hey man, don't do this. Hey, that's okay. What would you do next time then to make this scenario something a little bit different? What is your boundary? What is your boundary? How would you properly communicate that? And if something really does happen, what could you say there? And they did a whole role play. It was really cute.
I love that. I love that.
But yeah, just giving them plenty of opportunity to be not in trouble, but be like, hey, that might not have been the best thing. What can I choose next time?
Hmm. Yeah, truly. Truly, because there's a whole thing on gentle parenting. And don't get me wrong, people that observe my parenting might believe that that's my way of parenting. I don't like labels, so
Of
we don't
course.
do labels around here. I just don't really like them. So I'm not sure what I'd categorize myself as. However, like you say, I choose to not raise my voice as much as possible. And even though my children are both under two, they won't be for long, he's two next week. Um, he understands so much and he understands boundaries and he will say, no, I don't do it. I'm not doing that. Give someone a cuddle, no. And he'll just tell you point blank. And I will not ever force him to do that because that's why he's so communicative on his boundaries because they've been listened to before. And, I watch the way he learns, but he can be very cheeky and he can be very like, you've watched him,
Yep.
like, I
I
was
do.
before I had kids. I was like, I watch out with my kids. I won't do things like we all do before we're mums. And then, yeah, I got given a feral little thing, and he's like, and he was like biting everyone, and But the thing is, he was learning things, and he was doing things cheekily, and he was like doing it to see how far. I knew his little brain was going. It was like, how far can I push this? And I'm not saying he was doing it maliciously, but he was testing his boundaries. And I had to learn like new ways of setting that tone with a child that you can't communicate like I could my 12-year-old sister.
Yep.
He's two, and so yeah, barely two. So you're having to kind of navigate this with this little thing that is screaming at you that you don't really speak much and you love so much, and it's like, ah! So you have to like find a way to energetically communicate, like, yo, we
Yep.
can't do this, and he needs, I believe, my opinion as his mum, and I think I know best as his mum, that he needs a firm but solid and safe structure to be like, this is a line, again, similar with my sister. We don't cross them lines, and I do that with love and safety and peace. And
Totally.
again, I explain why to him, even if he don't fully understand it, because I think children do need boundaries. And I see a lot of children, and I'm not
Yep.
judging gentle parenting in any way whatsoever, but I do see some children that maybe haven't had that boundary setting because there was a fear of discipline and a fear of over disciplining because maybe they was over disciplined, and I totally relate. I understand that. And it's like this fear of enforcing any verbal boundaries has then created kids that don't respect boundaries and personal space and do dictate a lot to situations. And that, to me personally, I don't think it is a healthy generation to raise. And so I think we do need to find, please don't give me hate for this, because it's a simple finding a balance. Like, you got to do what works for you and finding your peace. But I think there is a bit of a gap sometimes in the current narrative of just doing it this way of gentle parenting. I think then we are raising children. I know myself, it feels like for me, I wasn't a kid that long ago. I'm 28, but I feel like I was 18 like yesterday. So I feel like my inner child, my inner teen knows I was very innocent looking. I was very, yes, look at it. And then I was very sly. I could do whatever I wanted behind everyone's back because I knew I could do it. And so there's the same sense of we do have to have a level of boundaries of knowing that we need to keep a child safe as well while they're a child to protect their own
I
sense
agree.
of self. And I think if we're raising children that learn how to be deceptive because they learn there's other ways rather than just this
Oh,
is clarity. Let's have it all out on the table. Let's speak about it because let's not say the generation before was had it bob on. We're not saying that, but
sure.
I think it's just more authenticity. Like, this is not acceptable. This is why. Da, 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 to have that clarity on the table, a little
Yeah.
bit more.
And I feel that so much now working with
Mm-hmm.
these kids, which I super appreciate. They've taught me so much, but it definitely is that clarity and boundary is so much love.
Right,
It's so much
right.
love for them to learn how to do that themselves too.
Mm,
Work those processes from my opinion. But I also know too that sh the shame that I had growing up because of all the punishments that I had from being
mm-hmm,
myself, really, like prevented me from holding up my own boundaries.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm like, no, I don't, because now I'm like, I love my boundaries. I'm like, thank God I have that ability working through all that stuff to really hold my own energy. And that is definitely something that I want to be not a teacher for, but a representative for, my own child.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much because it is important, and no one knows the right answer for anything. And every human person experience, whether you're parenting your own inner child or you're parenting actual children or you're helping be a village for other children, like we're all having a role in some way around a child, even if it's your own inner child. We
Exactly.
all have that connect. So let me just put that out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how's your inner child?
Yeah, yeah, this is relevant to everyone. I obviously speak both as a parent to my inner child and a parent now, and a parent role to my sister, and navigating is not easy. And each version of you that you show up as a different day will be a different version to said version of your inner child, children, family members, whoever it is. And we're all in this ever evolving journey, I guess. But yeah, I think it's just surrendering to and trusting yourself. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I know what's best for my children because they chose me as their mum. So if you've been chosen by them souls as parental roles, family members, caregivers, aunties, uncles, godparents, whatever it is, you've been chosen by that child's soul to help guide them and your own inner child, obviously. So it's important to keep reflecting them lessons back to yourself because one thing you said that really stuck with me and was a big driving force of me checking my sister this weekend is the shame piece. Like I had to work through so much and due to different reasons, multiple reasons, loads of things, but I was not always the nicest, kindest person. When I was about 16, 17, I felt very angry and I was in a lot of pain and I was very alone. I felt very abandoned. And I just felt like I became very defensive and very aggressive energetically, to protect me.
Yep.
It was a bit like the FU energy, and I see that a little bit in my sister sometimes. And I think I don't want you to have to relearn everything I did. I don't want you to have to spend 10 years like I did unraveling them wounds and unraveling that guilt and shame and that damage that's already done by that point. When I've observed that journey, I've done that journey, I've witnessed that, and I can observe it now. And I think it's our job as, again, them guiders to these children to be there to reflect this stuff, whether it's good or whether it's bad. We bring the I love you, I'm so proud of you, the encouragement and love that maybe we didn't get in the last generations previous. But we also need to still bring the that's not an acceptable way to behave because that's not being a kind person energy too, and it's finding that balance between the two.
It is, and it's a balance. And I would have to say it's a different dance every day. Like something new comes
Mm-hmm.
up, and you're like, I wasn't expecting
Oh,
that.
damn.
But
Yeah.
God.
Yep, yep,
All
yep.
right, so back to pink to zero here. What would I like?
Right.
It's like that daily dance, and it's interesting to see how much since I started with this, and I've known these guys for several years, but moving into the space now and going, okay, every day brings up something different. Sometimes it's a repeat of like something that is like, wow, that's deep, but I thought we had shifted from that, but we're not. We're not. Okay, so how am I going to interact with it? And that's essentially going back to my own inner child of how did I interact with this particular piece, right? When it came up. Because my inner child always thought she was getting punished for something. Always in
Right. Me too.
denial. Like just and of course I had the anger piece too, because I was like, my God, like just for being myself, I was punished all the time. That doesn't seem. So that's definitely not what I want to do. And also too, for me, the boundaries are safety. So if I'm working in the safety space for myself, then I'm also going to interpret it with them. Hey, did that not feel good to you? And, they'll say, no, absolutely it didn't. Okay, what would feel safe to you in this space then? And we can create that boundary, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
it's interworking it that way. But man, my mind gets blown every day. I'm like, that's wow. I'm a woo, okay. Uh,
Right.
and I take it as it comes, and I also very much so watch my reactions and responses. I
Mm,
step aside if I need to. I talk to my inner child because she can get flared up sometimes because something feels similar, and I'm like, hey, where are you? How do you feel safe?
yeah.
And so you need
Yeah.
a boundary right there, right? Because I had
Mm,
boundaries crossed when I was little. I said no all the time. Like that's unacceptable. And they were crossed, and that's what made me angry.
right. It's a violation. I get
Violation.
that.
Totally.
Hmm.
So
Totally get that.
to come back and like work with them and be like, no, that was a violation. If that was something that kept getting crossed by the sibling or somebody at school or something like that, then the parents or us, we're gonna go in and intervene a bit and hey, this is something that's continuing, it can't continue.
Yeah. And it's been that voice. I was you triggered something in me, an emotional response. My brain was you know, as this multidimensional workers, it's so funny how you can be having a full-on conversation where you like
Totally.
listen and then thinking of the next thing to say while you're listening and talking and observing and feeling that emotion from that person. And then also you seeing a visual of your own emotional trigger
Yep.
going on right here, and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was there, you know, and it's like this multidimensional thing going on. I do apologize if you can hear any background noise. It's my dad downstairs with his cousin, so they're having a little chat, but hopefully it's not too loud. I will text him if he gets a bit loud. But yeah, as you were talking, it triggered like a sense of, I don't know, like so much. I think the thing that triggered it was, oh, we're here again because we faced this and then we're
Yep.
here again. And that's more with my own stuff, my own like inner teen and my own inner child. I always seem to be like, oh, shit, we're here again. Okay. You know, and yeah, I guess the big theme, I know we're going to do some videos on this because I think we need more time to dive into the mother wounds and the father wounds. So we're
Yep.
going to go into that, but definitely they're present right now. And I was thinking of a time where, you know, your whole world just ends as a teenager. And I just remember that time being so angry for feeling so alone. And I
Yep.
remember that being like the most prominent emotion was just pure rage. And I remember if anyone like me came in to try and help me at that time, I would have been like, get away, you know, because I
Totally.
was
Yep.
so angry,
Yep.
so
Yep.
angry and so in pain. And I guess that was what was playing out more. So it was like I didn't understand at that time why the rage was so fueled with rage, you know, why it was so
Totally.
powerful.
Oh yeah, for
And I
sure.
didn't understand what was wrong with me. I was like, why am I so fucking angry, you know? And I get it now. And I guess, yeah, it is sad sometimes when you look back and you think, yo, I didn't know I needed that much support at that time because I didn't feel like I did. I felt like I had it all under control, even though it felt like the world was breaking. I felt like I've got this, I've got me, you know. But I
Yep.
guess looking back and you see now as a fully grown adult, you're like, you didn't get that. Like you could have done with being held and
Yep.
protected and loved and you know, yeah, I guess that that is always there, that oh, we're here again, because there's so many doors to open. And
Totally.
how can you heal an inner child when an inner child is every single moment you as a child throughout your whole childhood existence? There is unfathomable versions of said inner child. So we
Totally.
can't ever heal the inner child. It's not a possible option. We just work through the layers to where we feel connected to our inner child so we can communicate and hear them and listen to when something does come up, we can help address that, you know?
Totally. Yeah, and this is the perfect setup for the mother and father wound in that aspect because that's got to be looked at through our inner child's piece.
Mm.
So that's why I was looking at the lines. I'm like multidimensional. I'm like we're having this now.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
because
set
it's
up for it.
going right. It's so true. And we knew today because we both jumped on not feeling 100%. And the energies weren't fully aligned to go so deep because the mother and father wounds, they are deep. Like, this is not
Yep.
just, oh, you know, issues with mum and dad. No, 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 no. This is not feeling whole, not feeling worthy, not feeling loved, feeling abandoned, not feeling seen, not feeling nothing you ever do will meet up to scratch. You know, all these facets of you that are playing out in your daily life right now, these are under mother and father wounds, and we don't realize because it's not about hating your mum and dad. You know, that might be in there somewhere, maybe, I don't know, but that's not actually the concept of it. It's kind of misleading by the title. It's more to do with the internal reflections of them, what that energetically represents to you, and how those needs have been met within you, regardless of the physical mother and father. That's obviously contributing to it, but this could be, you know, societal things, this could be different lifetime things, this could be so multidimensional. And so, this is why it's important we look at it from an over perspective of the mother wound, of the father wound, you know, and just kind of dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And to just sit with that for a second and to see, the mother and the father wound. My whole, obviously everybody's perspective, our whole human reality perspective, anything that we react out of does come from that place. That's
Yeah, 100%.
open with our
100%.
human reality. So it is really important to jump into and also know we have been working through it for such a long time. What are the new facets coming in? How do we feel about it now? How is our inner child interpreting it now? I'd really love to dive into that.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be really good. And obviously, there's been a lot going on in the world.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on in the world, and I think it wouldn't be human of us to not acknowledge it. We
Oh,
are still human. We're all human. And I guess the reason why I say that is because from 2020, I was highly immersed in, going to march in the streets because I don't want to say a certain word that might trigger something. I was doing the whole marching and, speaking up and online and, fighting the good fight and doing all that. And I felt that was my deep purpose. I needed to do that. But I guess it shifted for me after 2021, going into, between 2021 and 2023. It shifted and it became more of an internal mission, and to create events and places and sacred spaces for people to go deeper into themselves, to be able to access deeper frequencies externally. So a lot of it shifted for me, but now I see this going on again. I see the 2020 going on in 2025, and I see the call to action for a lot of different people that need to get that call to action. I see it around me in the people, and I see the devastation that it's created too. And I have to acknowledge and honor that, because on a human level, like, I don't know the full story of everything that's gone on with the recent guy. Again, I don't know if I can say his name. I think it might be okay. We're not sure. I'll risk it, talking about Charlie Kirk and everything that's been going on with him recently, because I don't know the whole facts. I don't know anything. But at the end of the day, because I don't follow the politics of it anymore because I'm too busy in the energy worlds just not my calling, But I've heard of him and I've heard about him. And on a human level, if the situation is what it is, which obviously appears to be so, then it is obviously heartbreaking. It's never going to be, something that is a soft thing, nice thing to experience. And it's going to cause this firework of emotion. But I have heard one thing his wife has said, which was, if you think he created waves while they were alive, wait till you see now what happens after he's gone. And I thought that was very powerful. I felt like that carried a charge of what he came here to do.
oh, totally.
And the one thing I remember as well is that every soul had a choice in what they knew, what they were coming down to do. And that gives me a little bit of peace in my heart, knowing that his soul chose that experience, regardless of the brutality in the human form. But I do still have so much empathy and so much sadness, regardless of where you stand in the politics view, which I think you still need to acknowledge that a human life has been taken in the way that was extremely brutal, and obviously there were children and things there. And it's just no way. I think there's been a lot of awful energy on the media, and I think it's important to remember, regardless of where you are on them views, there's still a human, and we still need to act like human beings too. I'm not saying anybody that watches this would ever fall onto that energy, but don't allow anyone that's acting on a lower frequency to alter your frequency. Stand true to your own, and stand true to knowing that everything happens in alignment to the universal higher plan. And that sounds really awful to say when there's something so damaging, but you have to actually remember that this is so much bigger than what we're experiencing on a human level. And this has been going on behind the scenes, this battle between the energy forces, for a long time. And everyone's souls that's involved in this knew subconsciously in their soul's purpose what their role and what their journey was going to be before coming here as a human. And we do have to remember that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's not to push it aside or anything either, because that happened in my hometown. In fact, I lived where he was
Wow.
where that happened. So I can
Wow,
feel
wow,
like
wow.
collectively in my state how that affected things and on the news. So that's also reason why I'm really tired. Um,
Mm,
so I'm acknowledging it. I have my very human part of me that's very compassionate for the energy and how that's moving its way through and what it's doing, which is
hmm
me to look a little bit deeper, which is where it took me, right? But also going on another side of that too, I'm not here to listen to other people's fights or like getting
hmm
heated, lower vibrational frequencies, victimization, brutality that's coming from it. I'm not there to play in that game. So I'm there to acknowledge, do what it needs to do for me, and also move through it in a way that empowers me.
Yeah, yeah, which is what I think is, in my opinion, his soul intended, was to create empowerment and rising, throughout all of his choices. But yeah, I just think it was important that we acknowledged it, because it is real in the world, regardless of
Yep.
Who knows? I don't think we can ever know truly what the real facts are of anything in the human world because
Truth.
there's so much going on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
agreed.
from what we can see and what we can feel energetically, that's what I feel. And I feel, it is, I'm honoring both the knowing of the soul plan and the knowing of the higher purpose of everyone's soul's journey and remembering that, but also the acknowledgement of the human and the human's emotions and everyone affected, and also the whole journey of that as well. And just giving grace and giving love for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot
Mm.
of appreciation for it, and I'm grateful for him and whatever that is that it's moving its way through and that story. And I'm also kind of excited too to see what moves through that point as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because
What
he was a
rises
very
from the
empowering
ashes.
person. Yeah, he was a very empowering
Yeah.
person. That's that. So it's a good legacy.
Yeah. It is. It is. And yeah, thank you for just creating such a safe space again. I always just love navigating the journeys that we had. And there's
Mhm.
a lot of synchronicities showing up right now, just as we're finishing up. There's so many things that are like boom, 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 everywhere. And the one big thing I got shown this weekend, I was at a caravan place, and both random caravans as I was walking through the park had two different ones had my children's name on. Now my children's name is quite different. They're not normal like Molly and Jake, they're quite different names.
Yeah.
And there was two completely different caravans that had their names on. And everyone else, the group that was with my family, no one noticed that. And I think the difference is because I go around observing the world. I'm like, okay, what's for me to see over here? What can I look at over here? Just like
Yep.
put it along and
Yep.
being open to receiving information and guidance. And, I met a guy that I met, and then I seen him on the telly a few days later, and I was like, what's this about? So synchronicities are just showing up. And I think what it showed me is be open to synchronicities, because I was there with a whole group of people and none of them experienced any of that, because it's just different frequencies, different timelines. And so it's important to be open and receiving to divine messages and synchronicities from the universe and just flowing with that.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. Be open to receive, I think, is the biggest aspect that I came in for this month. And also just there's things that are coming up to close their way off. So if something is popping up or you're purging or you're feeling the
Mm.
collective, being open to seeing what is with it in a human reality, and also being open up to what the divine is coming in for messages and receiving, and trust is a big one I've seen for this month too.
Yeah, trust. Oof, yeah, that's been huge. I've been in limbo all month, and it feels like the limbo is
Yeah.
I'm finally getting to the other edge. Like I'm there. I'm not quite there, but I'm just teetering, and I can feel the energy. But
Exactly.
we'll love it.
All
No,
right.
thank you, Z. It's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it.
Super appreciate you. And we appreciate all of you guys who are watching. Again, always question, be in your own truth about it, and know that you're not alone in anything. So we love you a lot.
Yeah, yeah, we do. And join us for the mother and father wins, because that chat's gonna be. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.